Have you ever gotten shampoo in your eye? It hurts, right? Stinging, burning, just a lot of pain in a very sensitive place. Probably made you curse, and you complained about it later to a friend or family member who would commiserate with you on how much it sucks. I suppose, in a way, that's what I'm doing with anyone who reads this. Looking for sympathy, and maybe, just maybe, for someone who understands. Because it's beyond physical pain now, and I don't know what else to do. Let me back up a bit. My name is Alex. I'm 29. I worked in a restaurant before the lockdown. Currently unemployed, but it was my birthday a couple months ago, so my grandmother sent me some money, told me to buy myself something nice as a treat. I like having my hair long, about shoulder length, but pretty much every shampoo I've ever bought has its issues. Made my hair too dry, too greasy, was too strong smelling, couldn't cut through the buildup on my scalp. You get the picture. My roommate likes to tease me about being a fragile little flower when it comes to my hair. In any case, I decided that my birthday treat would be one of those custom shampoos that's supposedly tailored to your hair. Kinda pricey, but hey, like I said, it was a birthday treat. The company I found was pretty cheap compared to some others I've seen advertised, and I was a little worried about it until I clicked around their site a bit. The questionnaire was very thorough, and they had an extensive list of scents to choose from, including unscented, which is what I went with. Strong smells give me bad headaches. I will admit, some of the questions were a little weird, more like a personality test than determining my hair care routine. But the site was a little hippie, so I figured maybe they were going to send me a horoscope or pick out a specific color box to match my vibes or whatever. The last question asked me to rate my empathy on a scale of 1 to 10. I had absolutely no clue what to say to that, so I asked my roommate, Jacob. He shrugged, said to just put down 5. Neither of us could figure out what it had to do with shampoo anyways. The checkout page warned that, due to current events, creation and shipping of my custom shampoo would take longer than usual. But no worries, I'd made it 29 years on regular shampoo. I could last a few more weeks. Plus, it's hard to begrudge extra delivery time for a non-essential item right now. The shampoo finally arrived 3 weeks ago. Honestly, I had almost forgotten about it by the time it showed up, but once I opened the box and realized what it was, I was thrilled and very ready to try it out. Jacob was still under work from home orders, so he got to witness me cackling in glee as I got ready for a shower at 3 in the afternoon and rolled his eyes at me. It was my birthday treat. I felt entitled to be as excited as I pleased. I cannot describe how good this shampoo was, folks. It lathered up instantly, and my hair felt downright silky as I worked it through, and there wasn't even a faint chemical or slightly stale smell, like you get from most things advertised as unscented. It actually had no scent at all. I was in heaven and ended up using it twice in one go. It was as I was rinsing it out the second time that some of the suds washed down my face. Now, I'm not an idiot. I always close my eyes when I'm rinsing my hair. You make that mistake once as a kid, and you never repeat it. But maybe my eyes weren't as tightly shut as I thought, or maybe I was so blissed out from the feel of the shampoo that my facial muscles were extra relaxed. Something. Either way, the suds hit my eyes, and they burned. I freely admit to being a dumbass on occasion. I've hurt myself before in many stupid ways, including burning my fingers multiple times in various, highly preventable ways. And, as I said, I've gotten shampoo in my eyes before. This was different. This was like someone had shoved 2 hot pokers straight through to my brain. A shooting, white-hot pain starting at my eyelids and going straight back through my skull. Honestly, for a moment here, the wild thought that somehow mace had been added to my shampoo went through my head as I whirled around, blindly wrenched the knob all the way to the right, and turned my face into the suddenly ice-cold spray. It took a long time for the burning to die down to a manageable level, like at least 20 minutes. Long enough for Jacob to knock on the door and yell something about not drowning myself in the bathroom. I was shivering uncontrollably by the time I finally turned off the water and stepped out. My eyes still hurt. A lot. But it had dropped down from agony to just bad, so I was trying to count it as a win. I could barely open my eyes, so I dressed blindly and opened the door, asking Jacob if I could borrow the eye drops he uses sometimes when his contacts start to irritate him. He said yes, and thankfully, I know exactly where he kept the bottle, so I was able to grab it without too much difficulty. The drops helped a bit. I could finally open my eyes enough to squint at the world, but the burning sensation was still there. Dude, you okay? I squinted at Jacob, who had poked his head into the bathroom door. I got shampoo in my eyes. Sucks, man. Jacob's not much on sympathy, but I don't mind. He's a good guy, just not very emotive. Something odd happened though. As I squinted at his head in the doorway, the side of his skull caved in, almost in slow motion. His left eye was bulging horrifically, and blood was everywhere. Bits of brain and bone. I'm making myself sick just thinking about the details again. In the moment, I did get sick, whirling away from Jacob's smashed skull to heave into the toilet. I heard him exclaim something behind me. I think it was "Warn a guy," and the door slammed shut, leaving me to suffer in peace. After a few minutes, I felt well enough to stand up again and wash out my mouth in the sink. All I could think was, what the fuck? I've never had hallucinations before, and that's what it had to be, right? A hallucination? But there was no way I had watched Jacob's head get smashed in for real. He hadn't reacted at all to the damage, for one, so it couldn't possibly be real. And I'm not mentally ill in any way. Sure, I've had my share of anxiety issues, but who hasn't in the current climate? Surely it was some sort of weird stress thing. Everything was fine. I was just worked up about the current state of the world, and the pain in my eyes had pushed me over the edge for a second, but everything was fine. Everything was not fine. I walked out of the bathroom, into our shared living space, and saw Jacob on the couch. His head was still lopsided and bloody, and generally bad, and I felt another wave of nausea rise in me, so I booked it into my room and shut the door. I wondered if maybe I actually was sick. Maybe I picked up a stomach bug the last time I went grocery shopping somehow. Or maybe COVID causes hallucinations now. Even though I've been careful, even though I wash my hands obsessively when I have to go out and always wear a mask, maybe I still caught something. I did briefly entertain the idea that Jacob's eye drops were spiked with something. But I'd never seen him do anything more than smoke a pot at a couple of parties, and the bottle was halfway empty when I grabbed it, so clearly he had used that one before. I didn't know what to do. So I put on a podcast and curled up in bed with my eyes shut and tried to forget about it all. When I woke up, a few hours had passed, and my eyes still hurt. Not as bad as before, but definitely noticeable. I didn't feel sick or feverish or anything, so I chalked up my vision of Jacob's smashed skull as a pain-induced hallucination. Unfortunately, when I stepped out of my room to make myself dinner, Jacob still looked like someone had beaten him bloody. "Hey man, you good?" His voice sounded normal, but the horrible shifting of exposed muscle as he spoke made me feel nauseous all over again. "I think I'm coming down with something," I said, as I hightailed it into the bathroom to retch some more. When I came back out, I kept my eyes on the floor as I grabbed a sleeve of saltine crackers and a bottle of water from the kitchen before returning to my room. That was my life for the next several days. I was basically in isolation, trapped in my room with only my phone for company. My laptop has been broken for months, unfortunately. I didn't talk to Jacob behind asking him to pick up specific groceries, as I heard him deep cleaning the bathroom a couple of times after I was in there and wiping down the outside doorknob on my room anytime I left my sanctuary. My eyes never stopped burning. 2 weeks ago, a week after the incident, I heard Jacob leave the apartment around 9 in the morning after he had texted me asking if I needed anything from the store. He didn't come back. Instead, a few hours later, I got a call from the police. There had been an accident, they told me. A big truck and an SUV and the crappy little two-door that Jacob drove. My roommate didn't make it. Severe head trauma. He died almost immediately. They didn't ask me to come in and identify the body, so I didn't see him. But I know in some bone-deep way that he died with the left side of his face caved in, his eye bulging horrifically, blood everywhere, bits of brain and bone. He died looking exactly like I had been seeing him for the last week. I was shaking, obviously, but I was trying to move past twisting in my gut that said I should have warned him. Because, well, warned him about what? That he was going to die in a car crash 7 days later? I didn't know that. All I knew was that I had been hallucinating him with a terrible head wound. If I had said anything, he would have laughed me off, told me to stop watching scary video compilations on YouTube. And I was prepared to believe the imaginary Jacob in my head who was saying those things as I stared at the wall after hanging up with the police. I went to the grocery store the next day because I still had to get more food, and that's when it happened again. The cashier's face was covered and he was wearing gloves, so I don't know the full extent of the damage. But as I was waiting for the credit card machine to process my card, I saw blood starting to drip from his fingers. A lot of blood. His gloves were soaked when he handed me the receipt, and a part of me was shocked that there wasn't a mark on the paper, even though I knew it wasn't real. I took note of his name tag, clocked his age at about 20, and then, 7 days later, I was refreshing Google obsessively. The news report didn't actually appear until the day after, though. Now, I can't be sure it was him, because of course I didn't get his last name from the tag. But what I found still chilled me to the bone, because a young man with the cashier's first name, age 21, committed suicide the night before. I'm terrified to leave my apartment, because I don't want to see this again. I don't want to see how people die. I don't want that knowledge. The cashier broke my heart, and he was a stranger, but Jacob? Fuck, Jacob is going to stay with me for a very, very long time, if not forever, because I still feel like I should have known somehow, should have warned him. I know that there's nothing I could have done because I didn't know what was happening, but the guilt weighs on me. I finally decided to share my story because yesterday, I glanced out my window and saw a mother and a young child, maybe 3 years old, going by. There was no one else around, so the kid had taken his mask off and was swinging it through the air as he talked excitedly to his mom. And, as I watched, his lips turned blue, and water began pouring from his mouth. That child is going to drown. I know it. In 6 days, he will be dead, and I don't know what to do. I don't even know if I can stop it. Even if I can, I don't know who the mother is. I have no way of contacting her. Even if I do manage to contact her, how would I get her to believe me? I'm at loss, and my eyes are still burning.